Good.
You're under spotlight tonight.
That's right. If not, it'll be kind of.
Oh yeah, I get it. You gotta have some
I looked at some of the classes. Yeah. So let's take a breath right now, y'all. Let's be grateful that we have each other and that we're here together. I'm grateful for you. Grateful to have you here. And remind yourself that whatever it is that you're going through right now, whatever it is that you are giving yourself any kind of lack of peace about, tonight we're going to hear the answer. Tonight we're going to hear the answer. Now, whether you decide to use it or not, that's up to you, right? So let's just take a breath. Remember, you've already had all your problems solved. All your problems have already been solved. All your problems, because you can't come up with the problem that hasn't already been solved. Because you're loved. And the world is innocent. The world is innocent. That's the title of the section that we're going to be on tonight. It's called The World is Innocent. Your world is innocent. You don't have to believe it though. You don't have to accept any of these ideas or welcome any of these ideas. Some of them may be hard to believe. Some of them may be quite startling. You're not asked to judge the ideas at all. If you use the ideas, you'll see that the ideas are true. If you use the ideas. So the world is innocent is on page 232 in the way of transformation, in the way of mastery. And I'm going to go through the paragraph and then we're going to discuss it. But I'm also going to go, tonight I'm going to make sure that as much as I possibly can that I hear what the paragraph is saying. Because I really am ready for a new life in another way. I'm ready for some new adventures. And beloved friends, I want you to come now in your understanding to change how you use consciousness. So tonight we're going to change how we use consciousness. So let's take a pause right now to remember the truth. The truth is that the world that you are looking at is innocent. The world that you're looking upon is innocent. The world that you're looking upon is innocent. The world that you're looking upon is innocent. But the cause of the world is not found in the world. Do you know that the cause of the world is not found in the world? The cause of the world is only in the thoughts that are held within the mind. The cause of the world is only in the thoughts that are held within the mind. The cause of the world is only in the thoughts that you're holding in your mind. The cause of the world is not found in the world. The cause of the world is found in the thoughts that you hold about the world. So you remain perfectly free to choose to see differently. So every one of us are perfectly free, but where we are perfectly free at is to choose to perceive differently. All of us are free to choose to perceive differently. So that means we are free at all times to see that you are not the victim of circumstance. You're not the victim of a relationship. You're not the victim of circumstance. You're not the victim of a relationship. You're not the victim of circumstance. You're not the victim of relationships. You're not the victim of a career. You're not the victim of a career. I am not a victim of a relationship. I am not the victim of a career. I am not the victim of being born into a certain nation. Since nothing within an illusion holds the power to truly have any effect on you. So out of those two paragraphs, was there any particular sentence that stuck out for you? The sentence that stuck out for me was that the cause of the world is not found in the world. That the cause of the world is the thoughts that I'm holding in my mind. Anybody else have a thought?
That was mine. That was exactly what I was going to
That was yours. That was yours too. What's yours?
That is so powerful. To really understand that these things are not, just appearing and happening to me, that it's here that creates this effect.
Right. But the hardest thing for people to get is that there is no world out there. There is no world out there. That you're only seeing the thoughts that you're holding in your mind. You're only seeing the thoughts that you're holding in your mind. And because you're just seeing the thoughts that you're holding in your mind, that means you're not a victim of a relationship. You're not the victim of a relationship. You're not the victim of a career. You're not a victim of your relationships. You're not a victim of your relationships. You're not a victim of your relationships. You're not a victim of a career. You're not a victim of anything, since nothing on the outside has any power to ultimately affect how you feel. What sentence stuck out for you?
Also, it's not just a mind, but the mind, which that to me is talking about the mind of the sonship.
And yeah, it's talking about the mind of the
So
sonship.
the world and the mind.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, the mind, I mean, the mind just contains the world.
And your mind is also determining the world you see.
Mm-hmm.
It's all together. That's true. It's the mind, it's my mind, it's your mind, it's the one mind. But for me, I feel like one of the things that I have to understand that I have control over is my mind.
Mm-hmm.
That no one else can control my mind. It's always my mind that's determining what I think, what I see, and how I'm going to respond to anything. And then what we're seeing is a reflection of the mind. Everything that we're looking at, everything we're seeing, everything that we're hearing. So absolutely. Mm-hmm. Anybody else hear a statement? I'm looking for statements out of what I just read that stuck out. Yeah.
The world around us is innocent, Earl.
The world is innocent.
Because, it's really our response to every action that either mitigates the anxiety that's going on in the world or enhances it.
Absolutely.
So to react in a way in which we understand whoever it is that might be disturbed for any reason, for us to just understand that they're innocent and respond with love in every action. That's the key. That's how I see what you just read.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. In other words, why is the world innocent? If I'm reacting to what I'm thinking about you, then and therefore you are not really ultimately creating how I'm feeling, then you're innocent.
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes on to say, you are the one who remains free to do what? To assume responsibility for the domain of your mind. So people say they're free, but it's not that their body is free. Your body is definitely not free. You can't do anything you want to do with your body. Your body is limited in what it can do. Mm-hmm. But he's saying what you're really free in is to assume responsibility for the domain of your mind. I'm free to assume responsibility for what I think and what's happening in my mind. So he says, you're the one who is free to simply say, Father, Creator, nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. Because anybody that's really smart is going to want that which is infinite intelligence and that knows all things to have its will done in our life. Hold on just a second. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cover some, and then I'm going to throw it open. If not, we won't get very far. Okay? So, and what will does the Creator have, save that you be happy by returning to the peace that forever passes all understanding. So what could your Creator will for you, but that you awaken from the dream that there is something in the world that can add value to you. So we're having the dream that there's something in the world that's going to make us valuable. That means there's someone that's going to make us valuable. There's some career that's going to make us valuable. There's some location I'm going to be in that's going to make me valuable. Some what have you that's actually going to add to the substance of our being. And he says that's the dream. That's the false idea. That's the thing that's not true. That there's something in this world that will add value to you. I always think it's interesting when I read the paper and they say, so-and-so is worth $1 million. So-and-so is worth $10 million. So if you're making $10,000 a year, you must be pitiful based on that analogy. If that your value is in direct proportion to how much money you have, which totally explains the culture and the society that we live in and why it's so money driven. Because we're being programmed from day one that your value is based in not how loving you are, not how giving you are, but how much money you have.
Yeah,
Right?
significant
Or
activity.
a person's going to give me my value. So everybody's hunting around for that special person that's going to give them value. Or I'm going to have a career. Well, I'm a doctor, so therefore I'm much more important than the sanitation worker, because what I do is going to add value. He says that's the dream. That's the idea that's false. So it says, and better than this, to become freed of the perception that the lack of someone, the lack of something, the lack of some career, some location, some form of any kind could distract from your being and from your perfect power of union with your Creator. So not only do I think there are people who can add to me, I also think that the lack of something also takes away from my value. Okay. Peace then comes from a decision that is put into practice over time. Peace comes from a decision. Peace comes from a decision. Peace comes from a decision, not from an outer circumstance. Peace comes from a decision, but what kind of decision? A decision is put into practice over time in which the world is released. Released from what? From your belief that the world should somehow be for you the conduit whereby you gain good feelings, love, peace, wisdom, ideas, comradeship, and even brotherhood or sisterhood. Okay, let me get this straight. So we were just told that peace actually comes from making a decision to put into practice that it's not true that the world is going to give me good feelings, love, peace, wisdom, ideas, comradeship, and brother and sisterhood. That peace is going to come from me not depending on you to make me feel good. Peace is going to come from me not depending on you to make me feel good. Peace is going to come from me not depending on you to give me good feelings, love, and peace. Peace is not going to come from, my peace is not going to come from you. My peace is not going to come from you. My peace is not going to come from you. I have to make the decision that my peace isn't going to come from you. My peace is going to come from me. My peace is going to come from my connection to my source. My peace is, that's why classes like this are not very popular for very long. For someone who still is looking outside themselves, they never hang out in a class like this for very long. If you're a person that still believes you're going to find the person, the money, and the situation that's going to make you happy, why in the world would you come to a class that's saying you could have all that without that struggle? That you could actually be happy as you could possibly imagine without having to have any of that at all, period. Your joy is not going to be, so then people hear that and then they're tempted to think that this is another class that's saying there's something wrong with having abundance or prosperity or trips or clothes, and that's not what I'm saying at all. All of that is completely neutral, completely innocent. It's totally neutral. It's okay if you have it, it's okay if you don't, it's okay if you have it, it's okay if you don't, it's okay if you have it, it's okay if you don't, it's okay if you have a relationship, it's okay if you don't, it's okay if you have lots of money, it's okay if you don't, it's okay if you have the kind of career you want to have, and it's okay if you don't, because your peace is not going to come from any of those things, but you can be peaceful and enjoy all of them. You can have peace inside yourself and love inside yourself and consciousness, and you can enjoy anything. You could be as ecstatically happy being here together tonight as you could be on a beach in Hawaii if you knew the truth about what peace really is. You know, and so does that mean I wouldn't take a trip to Hawaii? If I felt like taking a trip to Hawaii and I could give myself peace about it, then I'm on the way. But I'm certainly could have a damn good time in City Park on a blanket on Saturday that'd be just as cool as going to Hawaii. That's peace. That's peace, right? So detachment does not mean avoidance, but detachment does mean disidentification with a mistaken idea. So detachment is my not identifying with the belief that I'm a victim of the world I see and my happiness is caused by something outside of me. So the proper use of detachment is simply you not continuing to act according to beliefs that are not true. So when it says I'm going to become detached, I'm going to become detached from the idea of attacking you. I'm going to become detached from the idea of blaming you. I'm going to become detached from the idea that I don't deserve happiness and abundance. I'm going to detach myself from every belief that the world is teaching me, because the world is crazy. And so therefore it's coming from crazy ideas. And I don't want to use them anymore, even if everybody around me still wants to use them. I'm detaching myself from blaming others for what's going on in my life. And I need help, because I've been trained to blame. Right? So, all suffering comes from this. Oh, okay. What does all suffering stem from? Identification of the deep mind or the soul, identifying with the forms that pass as outpicturings in this illusion. The belief that loss is possible creates suffering, but also the belief that gain is possible creates suffering. There can only be the recognition of what is true that stops suffering. You can suffer through the things you think you want and the things you think you're going to gain, just as much as you can suffer from the things that it looks like you lose. He says suffering only ends when you start to recognize what's true and start to practice it. And what's true? That we are here to extend what? The good, the holy, and the beautiful. So if you were to accept that the only reason why you're here is to extend what's good and what's beautiful, then the universe would give you a life that would be far beyond your wildest imagination. And I'm here to extend that, whether I'm a barber, whether I'm the president of a company, whether I'm a lawyer, whether I'm a doctor, whether I'm somebody that's just bumming my way around the world, it doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is that you remember that you're not going to suffer as long as you do what you were born to do, which is to extend the good, the holy, which is the innocent, and the beautiful. That's not what the average person will tell you when you ask them what their function is. They'll get caught up in the form. My function is to be the doctor, the lawyer, the candlestick maker. And the Course is telling us that does not make any difference whatsoever. What you choose to do in the physical body doesn't make any difference whatsoever. So you could choose to be anything you wanted to be in the world, as long as you remember that your only function is to allow the good, the innocent, and the beautiful to be extended to you. That your happiness in that situation is not going to come from anything outside of you. It's going to come from getting in touch with your wholeness and the love and the beauty you have within you, and allowing yourself to be used for that love to come through you. That's where the peace is going to come from. And you can have a flat screen TV. And you can go to the movie. And you can have great sex. And you can allow yourself to be a millionaire or not. None of that matters at all. It has nothing to do with anything about your happiness. So really that's freeing if you hear it correctly. It's not asking you to sacrifice your desires. It's just saying stop being unrealistic about what you think is going to make you happy. And I am so spoiled into thinking that there is someone, some outer situation, some circumstance, or some person that's going to make me feel good. Anybody else? Absolutely, we still got that belief, but that doesn't make it true just because we believe it. That's the thing that's such a trip. It's not true just because you believe it. Something's not true just because you believe it. Something's not true just because you believe it. But if you believe it, you're going to see it. And so you would think it's true. If I believe that I don't deserve love, then I will keep attracting situations that seem to prove that to me. But that doesn't mean that I don't deserve love. It just means I believe I don't. That's a big difference. And when you're trying to change your mind, you have to remember that you can't compare your present situation and circumstance to what it is you are wanting to experience next. So you can't say I could never experience abundance because I see a lot of bills on the table in front of me, so I could never be rich and wealthy in all the ways that I'd like to. You're just looking at the result of a belief. And when you really start to want to only extend the good, the beautiful, and the holy, and take responsibility for your happiness, the universe will bless you in ways beyond your wildest imagination because finally you're thinking correctly. Okay, any thoughts?
I just love what you just said about taking responsibility for my happiness. And something happened for me today, and I'm just really happy that I'm mindful. Like when I'm not feeling peace, then I know something's off.
Yes.
I'm pressing the pause button.
Yes.
And I actually made a decision to do something uncomfortable and have a conversation with someone. It was in the workplace, and what came out of it was something so beautiful, like a new understanding for this person, and they're bringing something into the company as a result. And I think a previous version of me would have just continued to feel like crap. So I took responsibility for my happiness and saw how that actually, I'm just putting this all together, is extending the good, the holy, and the beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. It's like I had a fantastic weekend up in Breckenridge with some friends. And it was a love fest, and what made it a love fest wasn't necessarily what we were doing. It didn't even matter what we were doing. We were having a darn good time because we loved each other. And we were all taking responsibility for our happiness for the weekend and just trying to extend appreciation to each other every way we possibly could. And it was heaven on earth because nobody was trying to make anybody happy, and so everybody was making everybody happy. Right? Because there was no guilt, there was no anger, and if something did come up, everybody took responsibility for what they were feeling and only communicated with the purpose of how can we have peace to get past any kind of block that makes this a win-win for all of us, rather than anybody trying to be right and then blaming everybody else for what they are going through. It's so simple to have happiness if you're willing to take responsibility and not addicted to being right even when you're wrong. But that sounds simple, but how many people do you know practicing it? Isn't that amazing? It's, all of us are capable of doing it, but we don't. You know why? Because until you've decided to be happy, you'll never follow the rules that make for happiness. That's why the Course in Miracles says, the reason why you don't do these things is not because it's hard. You don't think you're worth it. You don't think you're worth it. You don't think you're worth it. Isn't that deep? You don't think you're worth it. You don't think you're worth enough to do the simple things that will create ecstasy for you. Wow. So then you have to learn how to release everybody, or you will not allow yourself to enjoy yourself because you can't wait for everybody else to come to the conclusion that they're ready to be happy. You just allow yourself to be happy and then rejoice with them when they're ready to make the decision. Does that make sense? I'm not gonna not do what would make me happy because you've decided that you're gonna stay stuck in a mood for the rest of the day. I'm gonna witness to you that you could be happy right now because I'm happy right now, which means you could be choosing to look at it differently too. So I'm gonna show you that there's an alternative to the way you're choosing to act right now, but I am not gonna join you in your suffering. And that's what most people think empathy means. You're miserable if I'm your friend, I'm going to join you in your misery. No, I'm adding to it when I join in it because you create through joining. So when you join with something, you make more of it. First they were miserable, now you are too. So now both of y'all miserable together. That's what the Course in Miracles says that most people choose relationships for. They just don't want to suffer alone. It's not that they're really going to change. They just don't want to be suffering by themselves. They want somebody else with them. You know, I'm like, wow, that's deep. Anybody else? Any thoughts or questions about anything that's been shared?
I really like that my piece is not going to come from someone else. I mean, I really do, because so often I catch myself thinking that, or if I had done this, it would have. So, but it's funny because when I wrote it down, my piece is going to come from. I left the not out. But so when I read that, I thought, oh, I wonder why I did that. you know, and then I just thought, well, I guess, you know, there's still that belief in me that, but I like that, because, you know, I tend to catch myself so often, you know, just sliding into, well, you know, it's, you know, it's gonna come from something outside myself. It's very hard to start to realize, you know, I think what the Course says, you have a kingdom which you alone must rule.
Well, just like you just said a minute ago, the kingdom that you rule is your mind.
Right.
But here's the paradox, though. Notice that I said we had an incredible weekend together that was full of joy and fun and joining, where everybody was wanting everybody else's joy and appreciating each other in ways that was mind-boggling. Meeting friendly people who were extending everywhere to us. So we were receiving everything that we used to try to get through expecting it from somebody else and wanting to make them do it. So we didn't have an experience where we didn't experience other people who seemed to be channels for joy. So this isn't saying just because you're seeing yourself as responsible for your happiness that means you're not going to have really nice, loving people who are trying to be kind and loving to you. It's actually saying those kind of people don't show up until you stop being the person that's projecting and blaming and looking for other people to be the ones that make you happy and not taking responsibility for your own peace. Then those people show up because they are thinking correctly just like you are. Isn't that, you know, and that to me gives me hope. I get turned on by the idea that I could make a change within myself that would change my entire experience without having to get you all directly involved in doing anything to make that happen. But it still doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. I have more opportunities for extension and joy and connection now than I've ever had in my life. But I've never been more okay if I spend time by myself at the exact same time. And so that's what he's telling us. As long as we still believe that this outer reflection is anything other than a reflection of what's going on within, then we delay the happiness that we could have, and we could have it starting tonight. Not tomorrow, not 2 weeks from now, but tonight. We don't have to wait any longer to start letting it change. So it says the end of illusion is very near when the mind reaches this following point. When any mind looks out upon its creations that it has attempted to make of itself and finds all of it lacking, that something is missing, and when that mind simply decides to withdraw the value it has placed on the world, in other words, when you just rest in the simple desire to be with God, the Creator, which is love, then heaven, which is your perfect peace and joy, is but a step away. So the more I'm willing to withdraw the value that I'm placing on the world and rest in this simple desire to be with love, then I'm totally close to having the kind of bliss that I've always wanted. And then he says the final step will be taken by your Creator for you. So the final step to perfect happiness will be taken by the Creator for you when you rest in the simple desire to be with love. And you withdraw the value that you placed on the world, which is the same as saying, I'm withdrawing the value that I placed on things outside of me being the cause of my happiness. That's withdrawing my value from the world. When I'm no longer seeing it as what's determining my happiness. And I say, I simply have the desire to be with love and to be loved. He says, then the universe will take the last step, which is to allow you to move into that state of bliss and oneness. We're being told exactly how to have what we want in every class. But if a person doesn't believe that this is the way to do it, then there's no reason for them to want to hear it, or to study it, or to listen to it, right? Because if you think something is capable of giving you what you want, and it's easy to attain it, then you're going to do it. So what is everyone doing right at this moment? Everyone is doing what they think is going to bring them what they want. You wouldn't be here tonight at some level unless you thought there was something of value here that was going to help you go to the state of happiness or peace you want. And that's what everybody's doing wherever they are tonight, whether they're here or not, and they're innocent wherever they are. Everybody's always pursuing the thing that they believe is going to bring them joy. That's what everybody's doing. So I don't even have to know what that is, but I know what everybody's doing. And they invest their time and energy into the thing that they think is going to give it to them. That's why I'm here every week. That's why I'm studying, because I believe that this can give me the joy that is promising. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm motivated. That's why I'm here all the time, because I believe in the path. That's why you're here. Those of you who are here for that reason, right? The beauty of it is that there are many paths to happiness, many roads to the truth, and this is just one of them. It's not the only one. Thank goodness. I'm glad there's a zillion different pathways. We'll all get there faster if there's more than one way to get there. Could you imagine everybody in Denver trying to go down Colfax? Right? It would slow everything up. So when I hear people say there's only one way, you got to do it our way. If you don't do it our way, then you're not going to make it. That's the slowest route that we could possibly take to anything, is to say everybody's got to do it this certain one way. I'm glad you all have your own paths, because we can get to love faster. So the dream, he says, of separation has been your responsibility. When you reach that point of collapsing, matter of fact, you thought you were just collapsing. You were surrendering. Isn't that good? Now you can feel better about it. I thought I was collapsing. I just found out I'm surrendering. He says, then you enter into the stage of restoration or salvation. So salvation, even though that sounds like a religious term, just means restoration. And that is in the hands of your Creator. One exercise you might try that would be really powerful is for 5 minutes to chant this to yourself. I did not create myself. I didn't create myself. I did not 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 create myself. The Course and the Way of Mastery teaches that that is the one cause of the delay of everyone's joy, is that they think they created themselves and that the direction of their own creation is up to them. In other words, we live as if we created ourselves. So therefore, we don't have a creator to turn to for guidance. Most people don't do that who don't do that because they learn the fearful image of God, which is a berserk man in the sky arbitrarily punishing people for doing stupid stuff. And so they think this God is this external force that's arbitrarily kicking butt. And that's what a lot of us were taught. And because of that, a lot of people threw out the idea of having a creator at all. They threw what we said in the South, they threw the baby out with the bathwater. And so they don't focus on the idea of establishing a relationship with Source, because they've already made up their mind that the Source is some separate man in some separate place punishing people and acting like a dysfunctional child, which is someone who's jealous, angry, and attacking. If only a psychopath would kill all of its creations, not a loving being. But we're so warped in our feelings of not being worthy that we can accept a God that only condemns and punishes and kills. That's deep. That's the Creator being a reflection of our own self-image. Think about that for a minute. Man has made God in man's image, not the other way around. Think about that for a minute. We get jealous, God gets jealous. We kill, God kills. We have special ones, God has special ones. We let some people receive our love. We have made God totally in the image of dysfunctional people who are insecure and afraid. And those of us who don't buy it are the ones that are seen as weird. Those of us who love ourselves so much to go, that's the stupidest, craziest perception I've ever heard in my life, and I'm not going to buy into it, then we are condemned. And what's cool about it is knowing that everybody, no matter where they are, no matter what they're studying, if they are sincere about being loving beings, they will get the truth through the Bible just as much as we're getting it through this. A person who wants to see love and be loving, they'll see every passage in the Bible that's about being loving and trusting and giving. Those who want to judge, condemn, and attack, they will study the way of mastery and find a reason and a way to judge, condemn, and attack using this material right here. So you're the one that's determining your God by the kind of person you are and what you think you deserve. You think you're sinful and guilty, you will need a punishing God. You think you're innocent, you will need a loving creator who lovingly corrects you. Because you love yourself. So you don't think you deserve attack, you think you deserve help. That's why you can never love a person who feels worthy, worthless, and guilty. You can never give them enough love, and they never feel like you've ever given them enough love because the emptiness is in them. And they're expecting you to fill that emptiness up. So I don't care how much you love them, they'll go, you don't really love me. No matter what you do, they'll say, you don't really love me. You can be as giving and understanding and caring as you can possibly be, and they'll still say, you don't really love me, you don't really care. Because they got a hole that they're trying to get somebody to fill up, and that's what he was telling us. As long as we believe that, then we can't really experience real peace. What I want to do is join with other people who want, like you, who want to move toward real peace, while they also know they got beliefs to the contrary. That's it. That's what these classes are for. Not that we don't have guilt and fear and anger and that kind of stuff that comes up in us. We're just people who no longer want to be limited by it, and we want to transcend it, and we want to go beyond it. Is that right? Am I on the right track here? Okay, so when restoration has been completed, that means the mind no longer seeks to journey out into the fields of illusion, but simply rests empty at one with God. So what this class is going to do, it's going to go down, 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 down. And then it's going to go up, 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 like, and then it's going to go down, 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 down. And then in tennis, it's going to go up, 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 up. And then it's going to go down, 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 down. And then it's going to go up, 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 up. That's what they all do, all the time. And if I didn't know that, I would just not teach. So I don't get any more impressed by my classes being full of people than I do when it's a small group. Because then I'm making my happiness dependent on who shows up, and I'm not doing what he's telling me to do. So I occasionally get tests to see that. Can you be okay if it's 2 people in front of you, or if it's 200 people in front of you? Because your happiness doesn't depend on either one of those. And I'm going to give you a variety of experiences to see if you can maintain your peace in all of them. And you're being given a variety of experiences to see if you can maintain your peace in all of them. The exact same thing. The exact same thing. So I'm going to love you, period. And once you've made up your mind how you're going to be in every situation, then you don't have to figure out what to do no more for the rest of your life.
So easy.
Yeah, I don't wonder about what to do when I go in any situation anymore. Every situation I go in only has 2 purposes to me: to show people who I am and who they are to me. That's it. I'm going to show you who I am, and I'm going to show you who you are to me. I'm loving, and I'm going to show you that I think you deserve love. So I don't have to figure out what to do. You only have to figure out what to do if you haven't made up your mind what you're going to do in every situation. In other words, are there situations where you wouldn't show up as loving? Then why are you trying to figure out how to act? If you've already made up your mind that you're here to demonstrate love in every situation, why do you have to figure out how you're going to treat anybody? Unless you think there's an alternative. There's a beautiful line in the Course in Miracles where it says, the Holy Spirit, which is your higher self, absolutely has no interest in whatever it is you think you're upset about, because it doesn't matter what you're upset about, because there's nothing you could be upset about that it wouldn't want to heal you and give you love. It would only be concerned about what you've done if it was trying to decide whether or not to love you or not. Then I need to know what you did, because I got to decide whether I'm going to love you or not. But if I decide to love you no matter what, I don't care what you did. But that's so different from the way we love, it doesn't even seem possible. Or we'll say stuff like, well, you're just going to take advantage of me. You're just going to make a fool out of me. No, I can't make a fool. I can't make a fool out of you. You can make a fool out of you, but I can't make a fool out of you. I can't make you do anything. I don't worry about if somebody's going to take advantage of me unless I'm giving to get. You can only take advantage of me if I'm giving to you to get something. Then you can seem like you can give me back what I was trying to get from you. But if I'm just here to give you love, then I don't worry about whether or not you're going to trick me, deceive me, fool me, or anything like that. Because I didn't give so that you can give me something back. My love isn't a bargain. That's why I don't have to be suspicious of you. If I'm not trying to get anything from you, then I don't have to worry about what your motive is. And if I'm only giving to you because I want to give to you, you can't take advantage of me. I gave it because I wanted to. But if you're a person who doesn't know what love is, and it's special, and it's a bargain, and you're afraid, and you're looking for something in return, then you're suspicious of everything and everyone because you think someone's going to take advantage of you because you never give anything from your heart. And people who like to give to get are never attracted to someone who gives out of love. So you're always protected because people who would hurt you are not attracted to you. Anyway, be really loving to a person who thinks they don't deserve it and watch them run like roaches when somebody turn a light on in the room. That's the truth. That's the truth. Nothing scares people who are afraid of love more than to meet a loving person. Nothing makes them more suspicious. And that's what he's saying. If you're here to extend the good, the beautiful, and the holy, you don't have to worry about somebody taking advantage of you. Fearful people run away from loving people. So you're not harmed by them. They don't even recognize you. They think you're the biggest con artist on earth. Because they are. They can't give freely. They can't give without some type of a bargain. So they just can't even believe for a second you could just give out of the goodness of your heart. They can't even conceive of it. So they get away from you because they think they're smart. I'm not going to let you take advantage of me. So you're protected. Rejection is protection and redirection. Rejection is protection. 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 You might get saved a lot of times a week. And you're complaining because you got rejected. He rejected me, and she rejected me, and they rejected me. A whole group rejected me. Everybody rejected me. A conscious person goes, they protected me, she protected me, he protected me. Wow. So, when restoration has been completed and the mind no longer seeks to journey out into the fields of illusion, but simply rests empty, what? At one with God, then creation can begin anew. Stop. When restoration has been completed, what is restoration? When you reach the point of surrendering to the idea that your happiness doesn't come from anything outside of you but your relationship to Source. Now the restoration is complete because now I'm sane again. When that happens, I'm no longer seeking my happiness in things that will never give it to me. Now creation can begin. Now my life can begin anew. Now true love can begin. So your life doesn't even begin until you take responsibility for your own happiness. Up until then, you're living someone else's life. I want to be Kim Kardashian. I want to be Denzel Washington. I want to be Peyton Manning. The truth is, you're all of them. All of us are one. See, I'm living somebody else's idea of what success should be until I take responsibility for me. Isn't that the trip if you set it up where you can only be happy if you had $2 million and you don't have 50? You know what I'm saying? Think about that. A person sets the goal that they need to have $1 million in order to be happy, but they don't even have $100. Can you see how they've set themselves up? And we do it all the time. I don't have a partner, so I'm going to set it up that my happiness lies in having one. I don't have a house, so I'm going to set it up where my happiness lies in having one. That's making my happiness dependent on what I do not have. You hear that, how that sounds? How crazy that sounds. I'm going to always make my happiness dependent on what I don't have. And everything that I do have, I will not notice or appreciate. I could hug you instead of appreciating the fact that I could hug you right now. I'm going to concentrate on who's not sitting there that I could be hugging.
Mm.
And that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Over and over again. We'll have what we want right in front of our faces. I can remember, like, when I was seeking relationships, a lot of times I would be sitting in front of a woman and she would be describing the characteristics that she wanted in a man. I had every characteristic that she was asking for and telling her that, and she wanted to talk to me about how to meet one. Why? Because we don't,
Yeah.
the Course in Miracles teaches that there's nothing that's harder for people who have fear-based minds to see than what's obvious and right in front of their face. Because that mind is, a fear-based mind is always focused on lack. So it's always looking for what's missing, never what's there. I see people spend $3,000 and $4,000 and $5,000 sometimes come back and say they just got back from India and they just spent $5,000, right? And I said, well, what did you learn when you went to India from the guru? They said, he said our thoughts was creating the way we were seeing things. How many friggin' times have you heard me say that in a class that didn't cost you nothing? But you'll go all the way to India and you'll say, it's like the Dalai Lama. It's like the Dalai Lama spoke, and he'll say, there should be peace among men. What is mind-boggling about that statement? But everybody be freaking out. The Dalai Lama said that. The Dalai Lama said that. That's what I'm saying. The truth is coming to us through every kind of way possible. And we don't hear it unless it's special. Through a special person. It's got to be in India. Then it's got to cost me $5,000. Then I hear it. Because people don't tend to value what's given freely. It'd be more people in this class if I was charging for it. Because people would think it was more valuable. The mere fact that I say you can give me whatever you want to give me is what a lot of times, in a lot of ways, besides my own consciousness, keeps it small. Because I'm not charging. It's funny. I've seen people who charge $1,000 an hour for a counseling session and have a waiting list. And they don't even tell you nothing. They'll sit up there and say, I don't want to hear your story. I don't want to hear your story. Now tell me what you're thinking or feeling. And they'll listen for an hour and you give them $1,000. And it'd be a waiting list. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. You know, so my point is there's not anything that's truly coming from spirit that you can't have now and can't have freely. Which is not to say that there's anything wrong with asking for money for what you do. Do not misperceive what I'm saying. But there is nothing real that you can't freely have. If it's real, then you can have it anytime, any place, and anywhere. That's the definition of something real. If I can only have it at a certain time, a certain place, then I'm dealing with the form of something. The form is coming in. It's this class at 7 o'clock. So the form, you can't do this anytime. The content, which is remembering the truth of who you really are and how to love yourself, you can have access to that 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So don't be fooled to think that it's God that's keeping you from having anything. It's you by wanting what's not real. But you know that's not true about you, right? Why? Because you're sitting here listening to another way to look at it. So you should feel good about your self-love that you're showing yourself, whether you ever come back or not. There's enough people in the world that if I only saw people one time, I'd never run out of people for the rest of my life. So it's no need to see the same person over and over again unless they choose to. Right? It's not like if you never came back, I would never run out of people to share with. And you need to feel that same way about your love life, your work life, or anything else that you have right now. I don't care who you're with. That's not the last person that can love you. Don't ever tell yourself that. ever tell yourself all your love is in that person, and if that person goes, you can't feel any happiness. That will end the relationship. Believing that love is always available to you because you're whole and complete will keep the person there longer in a loving way.
Mm-hmm.
People don't take people for granted that they know a lot of people would love to be with.
Mm.
The ones they take for granted is the one that's always there going, baby, it's just you no matter what. I don't know what I do. I lose my mind. You're everything about, I just gotta have you, everything. You know, hey, I got you. I got you. I don't have to pay attention to you. You're so insecure, you'll never go anywhere.
Mm.
I'm telling you now. That's why I let everybody have it, because, you know, I don't ever know if I'm going to see anybody in the way. Anyway. Just why hold back? Yeah, just say it. It's funny. Because you know what? I'm hearing it again. I am. And I want to be a benefit to you, and 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 you. I really do. I can't give you any more than you want to receive, and that's your relationship to God. God can't give you any more than you are willing to allow. It's not God that's the problem. It's you not allowing yourself to receive. It's the problem. Woo! What he said, the 4 keys to the kingdom: desire, intention, allowance, and surrender. Boom. That's how you receive.
In that order.
In that order. First, I got to really desire it. I got to have passion for it. I got to get turned on by it. I have to be inspired by it. That's what I'm doing right now. I'm asking the Holy Spirit, okay, tell me exactly what changes I need to make in my life right now to allow more inspiration and more passion in it. Do I need to stay? Do I need to go? Do I need to do it a different way? Do I need to do it this way? What do I need to do? You know, I have to let go of my attachment to everything. To here, to the church, to Denver, to my way of doing things. I realize that I have to let go of the conditions I put on God. And I realized I was putting conditions. You know, going, okay, it's got to be this way. And it's like, well, maybe your happiness isn't this way, Purdy. Maybe your happiness is through doing something that you have never done before. Might not even be teaching. Might be something else. You can't even make your teaching an idol. Don't fall in love with the road sign. Be penitent to where it's pointing. Right? And I realized that. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I've made my lifestyle an idol. I made Earl Purdy, the teacher, an idol. Being here an idol. All of my plans, my idol. And then I'm like going, wait a minute. Wait, stop. You don't know your own best interest.
So when you're making yourself an idol doing that, then other people start making you an idol at the same time. They catch into.
Well, the only thing you can count on about being an idol is that you're going to lose that status. That's the only thing it means. It's the only people that have ever attacked me since I've been a teacher have been the people who idolize me the most. Every time. The one that act like I was the greatest thing they'd ever met in their life, and they love me no matter what, and they'd be there no matter what, and Those are the ones who have been the most vicious attackers when they got scared and they wanted to project their ego on me. And you know it's true about you too. The people who've attacked you the most have been the ones who made you the most special. And you made the most special. You know it is. I'm mad at my boyfriend. Right? He's special. I'm upset with my daddy. He's special. But they're also the ones that remember your birthday and buy you a present and maybe take you out to, Popeyes. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that's the plus side of it, right? The plus side of it is when you're on the plus side of the specialist, you get treated better than anybody else. And that's the allure. I'm willing to deal with the pain for the pleasure I also get. Sometimes I'll be looking for the torches outside the class when I get through. You know, and them move before they go, get him! He a witch! Get him! He a black witch! Get him! Let's go get him! What is he doing? He's telling people that they're valuable and deserve to be happy and God is love. Let's get him! You can't trust that joker. You know, be 10,000 people at the church that's telling everybody they're going to hell, and they tithe. I'm going to tithe 10% of my income for you to tell me I'm going to hell. It's amazing. Amazing. Because you believe a person that's telling you what you already believe about yourself. You're suspicious of a person that tells you something you don't believe about yourself. See, I got suspicious of that stuff because I didn't believe that was the truth about me. And people who are suspicious of me are people who don't believe them being loving and innocent is true about them. Wow. So if you're going to get into a relationship with somebody, please try to get into a relationship with a person that at least wants to know they are sane and loved and lovable. And don't worry about the body. Don't be trying to get somebody just because of their body, because everybody got one. And they all have the same parts, generally. They just come in different shapes and sizes. Hey, man, I mean, is that right?
Yep.
I mean, basically all women have the exact same organs and parts. It took a while for me to get that down. I'm here to report that after much research, I've come to the conclusion that the body parts are generally the same. In different proportions and colors and sizes. So there's not really something you can experience with one body that's any different from what you could experience with anybody. And that's a trip when you realize that. So what is the thing that's going to really make the person unique? Their mind. It's going to be their mind that's the turn on, because it's going to be their mind that determines the time that you have with them. Not their body. You know what I'm saying? It's really a trip. When I go out with somebody, it's not really their body that's entertaining me, except at the very beginning. You know, when you go, wow, you look great. And they go, thank you. Okay. Then after that, you're looking for some mind. You know that. Everybody knows that. So it's the minds that are fascinating, intriguing, and different, and fascinating. Here's your test. If you're on a desert island with somebody and you're going to spend the rest of y'all's life together on that island, would you want to be with that person if they didn't have a body? Ask yourself that question. If I had to spend the next 6 months with you and you didn't have a body, would I want to shoot myself because I'm just having to listen to how you think all the time? Take the body away and you'll immediately know why you are attracted to somebody. Immediately. You'll know instantly whether it's just you into their physical body or you into them, when you just go, would I really want to hang out with this person if I didn't have a possibility of somehow enjoying their body? Crickets, crickets, crickets. That's the sound of the crickets. Crickets, crickets, crickets. Did y'all hear the cricket sound? There's some things I can say, you go, everybody's going.
You said that, and for me, like I'm thinking, well, that's like the benefit of being here on this planet, like being here, being more mature a little longer, because maybe that earlier version of you when your hormones were dictating everything, you've moved past that for the most part.
And then what's so cool about it is when you move,
I feel so much more free.
Yeah, and when you move past it, then if you choose to indulge the pleasures of the flesh, you enjoy it more than you ever did when you were ruled by it. And that, again, that's the paradox. Because now you're in control and it's not. Plus you know you're innocent, plus you're taking responsibility, plus hopefully there's some connection happening. And so the experience is 10,000 times better than it was when it was just about getting off. Think about it. And if it's that level, you can feel absolutely orgasmic delight and joy if you are in each other's physical presence or not. Because it's always you giving you the feelings that you're having anyway. That's really deep when you realize that one.
Oh, yeah.
That you're the one that's always been the one that's giving yourself any pleasure you've ever had with anybody. Because you were the one that was determining what it meant to you. And so you could make it mean something to you without ever being in the person's physical presence. So I could feel as much ecstasy across the room as holding you in my arms if I realized it was me that was giving myself the feelings that I'm having. That's deep. That's deep. But it is fun to pretend like it's somebody else doing it. You know what I'm saying? And I understand. Don't get me wrong. I understand. I love how I discuss during the discussion periods. If nobody else takes advantage of the discussion period, I do.
I love fearful people run away from loving people.
They run as fast as they can get. But it's not always conscious though.
Yeah, no, it's not.
That's what's so
no,
funny.
it's-
Right. They just happen to not have time for you anymore. They got somebody else that they're having a nice, pleasurable fear with. It's like that. Yeah. But here's the good news though. You'll go through a period where it looks like there's nobody around. And then 1 will start showing up, then 2 will start showing up, then 5 will start showing up, and then 20 will start showing up, and then 30 will start showing up. And the challenge is not to lose it during that in-between stage, between when you're letting go of the stage you used to be at and the new stage hasn't completely come in yet. That's when everybody lose it. And so they're tempted to go back and hook up with the kind of people they used to hook up with. And that's what happens. They'll go fantasize. Well, before I got into the truth, there was a lot more people around me. We was arguing, fussing, fighting, and blaming every now and then. But at least I wasn't alone on Saturday night. Well, yes, but you're in transition. You're in transition, and if you're patient, then I promise you, people who match your vibration and energy will be drawn to you. And more and more and more, especially as you continue in the direction that you're going and you don't stop. But yeah, everybody's going to go through the period where they think they're alone and not having as much as they think they want.
I found that being a person who moved 2,000 miles away from everything, I go through this point of like, oh God, why did I actually do this? And then when I sit, I start thinking like, no, really, that sucked. That's why I'm not there. I've begun to see how good it was that, I got it, that I moved away.
That's a good point. There's a line in the Course that says, don't forget the misery you really found.
Right.
Like when you start going back to, like he says, you'll go back to thinking about all the ways you once sought for happiness. And he says, no. Don't. Maybe I need to try her one more time. Do you remember that you left her because she put poison in your tea? And then you forgot the real reason when you put a knife up against your throat when you woke up that morning. That's why you left. Because your mind, your ego will say, oh, that really wasn't as bad as I thought it was. He says that. He says, actually, remember the misery you found.
Right.
Don't forget the misery you found. Remember the misery you found. And then you won't do it again.
What I found too is like when I forgot, like I had a horrible landlord, or that's what I brought to life.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I just packed up and left. And I have 5 because I hadn't dealt.
Well, if you're going to learn if you're going to learn the same lesson, no matter what, there's nothing wrong with you choosing different schools. Who says you need to stay with a person that's absolutely you're miserable with because you're going to learn the lesson anyway? So I just as well learn it with them. That's crap.
No, this has really taught me how much, or what I really needed to learn. I mean, it's like it's helping me just to release it all. To actually, the 5 miserable landlords are vanishing next month.
Well, wonderful.
Just going
Wonderful.
away.
And I'm going to tell you something. As long as a person remembers that they're the creator of the experience, they will always win.
Right.
That's all you have to remember. If you act like the landlords just arbitrarily showed up and they had nothing to do with you, then you have not learned the lesson.
Right.
So I'm always listening to how much a person connects their own consciousness to what they're experiencing, and that way I know whether or not they're going to repeat it again. You know what I'm saying? Those people didn't just come out of the sky, out of the blue, and give you a hard time.
No, I really created them.
All right. Okay.
I saw
Okay.
that.
And then the way you can tell that you believe you created them is you won't have a grievance against them, and they won't be making you mad. As long as you say, I believe I created it and I'm mad, you don't believe you created it. That's just words. And we do have to say the words at first. So that's not bad.
Right.
But that's not the same as really believing you're the creator of your experience. It's like someone telling me they believe in God and they're afraid.
Right.
I believe in God and I'm broke. I believe in God, yet I see myself as lacking. That's completely paradoxical, but people do it all the time. That's how you can keep from fooling yourself. You know, you can't be in love and be afraid. It's impossible, is what these books are telling us. It's not possible for you to be seeing correctly and feel like you're guilty. It's not possible. But you hear people do that all the time. Do you believe in the higher power? Yes. But I'm so scared of being laid off tomorrow on my job. Don't you see how that's absolutely couldn't possibly be true? That you really believe you're linked to the most powerful force in the universe that totally protects you, and yet you think nobody could ever love you and you could never have a relationship that was fulfilling. And that's what the Course taught me. It's like, Earl, stop that, because every time you do that, you neutralize your desire. That's why nothing manifests for you. You holding two opposite beliefs and giving them equal reality at the same time, and you stalemating yourself. I believe I'm a loving person, and everybody treats me bad. I believe I'm an unloving person, everybody's treating me bad. No conflict. I believe I'm a loving person, I'm perceiving love. No conflict. Did you see that? It'd be better to go, I have serious issues around trust and being intimate with people, and therefore I'm having relationships that are sometimes challenging for me, than saying I'm this really loving person that everybody's doing wrong. And that's what I have to watch. That part of my mind that does that, like he's saying, believing that my joy is coming from this person or this thing. That's what keeps you from having peace. Let's hear a little bit more of the stuff that it's a trip. Unless you have something that you'd like to share.
I think it's interesting that, like, sometimes I find myself, like, with people in my past, you know, I found myself in the past of, like, oh, that person broke my trust, whatever. And then I, like, flip that on God, too, of, like, God needs to earn my trust.
That's right.
That's
right.
It's, like, it's insane. Like, what does he have to do or she have to do
Yeah.
to earn it? Nothing. It's my choice to get that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. It's like people being upset, thinking that the Creator is somehow getting hurt by the way that they don't have faith in it.
Yeah.
Like when I say stuff like, I don't believe in God, that doesn't mean that God gives a hoot.
Yeah.
And that's important because God doesn't have, the Creator, which is love, it doesn't have an ego. And so it's not judging whether or not you treat me special or not, because I'm whole and complete. It's like a person who's had if you had a big Thanksgiving dinner, nobody's going to tempt you with food. You know, if you're whole and complete, you're okay whether the other people at the table eat or not, right? And that's what love is. If you're really loving yourself, you're not giving anybody else a hard time because you're okay. And that's what the Course is saying. Our Creator is okay. It doesn't need our worship. It doesn't need us to praise it. Egos need praise. Insecure people need constant praise, not an infinite being that knows it's whole and complete. We need praise because of our own insecurity. You know, somebody that you really loved and they really love you, they wouldn't have to tell you every day for you to feel like that was true. But it would be wonderful if they did it, but you wouldn't go, you don't love me because you haven't told me you love me in the last 3 days. I wouldn't need you to tell me you love me in the last 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
See, now that would be the person you could have a 50-year relationship with. Not the one that's always judging by every little thing that you do, whether or not you care about them or not. Not the one that stuck a GPS in your underwear before you left out the door to try to track you. We're not talking about that kind of person. But people who are doing that get offended when they hear me say something like that. Because a lot of times when I'm talking in the class, I realize that a lot of the things that I say that the ego does, there are people in the class that are doing that very thing even as I say it. And so they make themselves feel guilty when they hear me describe the unloving person, the fearful person, the person, they go, damn, he's talking about me. Right? And so then they don't want to come back because they feel shame. Because they're the one that's projecting, and they're the one that was blaming, and they just went off on somebody before they just came to the class. So when they hear me talking about the ego, they go, oh, he's talking about me. The unconditionally loving person, that's not me. But the one that's jealous and insecure, that's me. So then their ego said, well, feel bad about yourself. He's talking about you. And then nobody wants to come listen to a person that they're making themselves feel bad about, unless they're to the point that they've reached their limit and they want to go beyond it. And they're willing to be honest with themselves. I'm honest about my ego. Every day I call it. It's selfish, it's afraid, it's insecure. It tells me nonstop things about myself that's not kind and loving. Makes me think that I'm gonna die, that I'm a body, that I need this and I need that. And my ego, like everybody else. The only difference is that I'm listening to another voice that's louder now. And that's the voice of love. But it's not any louder than my willingness to hear it. See, the voice for God isn't any louder than your willingness to listen to. But most people they're not willing to listen to. They much rather listen to all the things that make them feel bad about themselves. And then they draw somebody to them that tells them more, add it to them. Then they get engaged. Or they draw somebody that reminds them that they're totally loving and beautiful and whole, and they get engaged. See? And it can be the same person. But what happens is, usually, if you used to not love yourself and you had a lot of guilt and fear and you form a relationship, and then you decide to love yourself finally, and you start doing spiritual work, what usually happens more than not is the relationship falls away. That you think that, oh, it means we're going to really stick it out forever. Well, if both of you all really want to change. But you got to remember that you attracted the person that emotionally abused you when you didn't love yourself. So the purpose of the relationship in the beginning was to cause you pain. That's why you got with them. But you didn't know it. But now you decided to love yourself. That wasn't the original deal. So that relationship will usually fall away or end. Because it's no longer fulfilling the function that you originally created it for, which was pain. Because you thought you deserved punishment. So yes, could you go from a painful relationship to a loving relationship? Certainly you could, if that becomes the purpose of the people in the relationship. But if it's not, then thank God it'll drop away. Thank God it'll drop away. So you can receive the relationship that nurtures your new purpose, which is loving yourself. But I'm glad the people that make you miserable, sometimes they're the hardest ones to get over. It's something about them just keep drawing you back. You know what I'm saying? You just find yourself being attracted to them, turned on by them, want to be with them, and you realize that's that lingering desire you have to suffer. It hasn't completely been dispelled yet.
That addiction to fear.
But if you could be in a relationship with someone and y'all were both insane at first and not really loving each other, but then you wake up and you realize together what you've been doing and you decide together that you really want to love each other and appreciate each other, it is a trip to see how close those two people become and how loving they become to each other.
Doesn't the court say that all relationships are really unholy until they reach that point?
Unholy simply means fear-based.
Until they reach that point, and then at that point they either fall apart or they become a holy relationship.
All relationships that are based on the idea that we're separate from each other start out fear-based. Right. And then, but the truth is, we are joined in love beneath that, and nothing can change that. We're already in love. We're already connected. We're already cool. Don't get me wrong. We are whole already. We just have beliefs to the contrary. That's all. You don't have to be positive. You don't have to try to make yourself lovable. You are lovable. You just have hidden it beneath beliefs that are not true about you. Talking about you. Yeah. So that's the truth. That's the truth. And I'm supposed to look past your egos, and you're supposed to look past mine, and remember that we are the love behind the insanity that we sometimes express. I want to remember that about you and see it. Because that's what we're here for, to see it in each other until we can see it in ourselves. It's awesome. All right, I'm going to stop here. Let's acknowledge ourselves for hearing this much. Let's do a quick little review. And why do I always say let's acknowledge ourselves? Who can guess?
Because we're here.
And what
We're
else?
going to say
Because
to
we're
hear it.
all one here, we have to acknowledge ourselves.
And what is the world a reflection of?
Love.
The way you feel about
Yes.
yourself. So every time we acknowledge ourselves sincerely, we are also creating that acknowledgement in the world for us. It starts, the world is going to give me what I'm giving me. The world is going to give me what I'm giving me, not what you're giving me. It's going to give me what I'm giving. So when I acknowledge myself, that's appreciating myself. That is loving myself. And then I attract other people who appreciate themselves and who love themselves. And people who appreciate themselves and love themselves always appreciate others. It's just built in. So when we appreciate ourselves, we are planting a seed of a new reality we'd like to have. But the most difficult thing to get people to do is to acknowledge themselves. You can tell them to acknowledge somebody else, they'll do it a lot faster than you say acknowledge. A song I used to play in my class years ago that people used to bring up all kinds of stuff in people. It just went, you say, I love myself, 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 I love myself. You watch people die a slow death as you just watch them melt, just like the witch and the Wizard of Oz. Just I'm melting. And that's how you get in touch with what's really going on. Is your feelings. Your feelings are the one right use of judgment. He says your feelings, check that out. Your feelings are the one right. Didn't say your thoughts. Because your feelings always lead you back to your beliefs. You can tell yourself anything, but your feelings will never lie to you about what you believe. It doesn't mean your feelings are based on the truth, but your feelings are always based on what you believe. So pay attention to your feelings because they really are a great lie detector. You can tell yourself anything, but your feelings will let you know whether you really are loving yourself or not, or feeling peace or not. And don't lie to yourself either. That's another little word of advice. You might lie to me and tell me you're feeling good when you don't feel good. But don't you dare tell yourself you feel good when you don't feel good. Because we get so used to saying stuff to people that's not true that we'll even pretend to ourselves that we feel good when we know we're upset. It's like I'll try to hide my own anger. I'm like mad as hell, but I'll be trying to pretend I'm not really mad. I'm not really mad. I just love everybody. Then you're the one on top of the building picking people off. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's those people who are always repressing their feelings that's killing people. Not the ones who are going, I feel angry. Right now, I'm making myself feel really discounted by you. And I'm making myself feel unappreciated by you. I hope I'm wrong about that. I really want another way of looking at it. But I really made myself upset last night about blah, 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 blah. That's the person who will not attack you is the one that can express their feelings, all of them, without fear. The one who represses is the one that murders and goes off. It's the people, how you doing? Fine. You feeling good? Fine. I'm always fine. If you're talking to a person that doesn't know the truth, that you're innocent and loving, it is actually to your advantage to say you feel fine and not show your vulnerability. Because they will see you as if you are that moment of fear that you were expressing long after you let it go.
Wow.
Then 2 weeks later, they'll be, you all right? I still think you look like you still feeling pretty bad. You know what I'm saying? But the person who knows you are lovable and loved and invulnerable and spirit, then that person you can walk up to and say, honey, today I felt like committing suicide. I hated the world. I hated myself. I felt depressed and mad. Because they know that you're not that. So they free you to release. But unconscious people, they don't see you as innocent and whole. So they think you're whatever you're saying. That's why sometimes if you want to have a new life, you need to move away from everybody that knows you. Every one of them. Because then when you show up, the people don't have a personal history to judge you by, and they accept you as you are now. So you can show up as the person you are now instead of being held to the person you were 10 years ago by the people who've known you 10 years and don't want to change their mind about you. That's why people move away from their families. So they can finally be who they are sometimes. Because your family will be tempted to see you as the person you were when you lived with them. Even if you were 18 years old and now you're 50. And they still think you're the person you were when you were 18 or 16. So don't be afraid to erase personal history. Don't be afraid to move into a new set of people if that's what you need to do to express who you are right now. That you're innocent whether you stay or whether you change. We're innocent no matter what. That's the problem. Is that I keep saying that. Right? So we're going to do the financial expression of appreciation. And I love you no matter what. I appreciate you. I appreciate those of you online who share with me as a full-time teacher. Just go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and you can make a financial expression of appreciation if you'd like to. You're innocent no matter what. I'm sustained by the love of God, and I thank you. And I'm also available for one-on-one sessions called Clarity Sessions. And go to my website and it explains them, but I support you and help you get clarity through things that you're going through right now, to give you another way of looking at it, the practical application of what we're teaching. And those who are open to it, I also use my many years experience with using astrology and numerology as a way to receive messages from Spirit to share with people. The Course teaches that everything in the world is used by the Holy Spirit as a means of communication and waking us up. So therefore, it doesn't matter what you do in the world, it can be used for your spiritual awakening. So your spiritual awakening does not require that you quit your job, leave anybody, or necessary to make any physical changes in your life. And it's okay if you choose to do that also. That's another important one to know. So if you, whatever you like to do in the world, it could be used as a means of your awakening. So the truth isn't asking you to give up your hobbies and the things that you love. It'll use it to wake you up. It will. Okay. Here is the completion. Anybody got any thoughts, anything they want to share before we wrap it up? Sunday, the Course in Miracles at 1 o'clock. I'm here only to be truly helpful. I'm here to represent Him who sent me, Holy Spirit. I don't have to worry about what to say or what to do because the Holy Spirit who sent me will direct me. I will be healed as I let the Holy Spirit teach me to heal. So I thank you. I bless you for the opportunities that all of you give me to be a means for your healing and a means for my healing. There are more people in the world that would love to love you than you could possibly imagine or ever get around to. And you deserve that love. Don't you dare doubt for an instant that you don't deserve to be loved deeply and soulfully and innocently. You're not alone. You're not alone. Creator. We ask that the part of us that loves us completely, we ask that the part of us that loves us completely and totally be in charge right now. We ask that the part of us that has sanity and compassion and power and love extend itself through us right now. We're asking to have all the blocks to the beauty and the power and the holiness that we are be released. We rest in God. We rest in love right now. Peace comes from a decision that is put into practice over time. In which the world is released. Detachment is not avoidance. It means to stop identifying with any mistaken ideas that you deserve to suffer, that you deserve pain. You don't deserve it at any level. Mighty companions, thank you for continuing to see value in being reminded of your beauty and your innocence and your holiness, and signifying to spirit that you are really open to its assistance and love and support. So be it. May the course be with you.